Okay, I'm about to show you how to roll in vinyl into a flat spline system. A round spline system would work pretty much the same. Most of the principles are the same, but flat spline is going to be a little more tricky. So anyway, get your piece cut to length. I start just by, it's about 2 inches from the edge. Just punch a piece of spline in right there. When I say punch it, you're not rolling it, you're just kind of pushing it in, just getting it in there. Now, when you come to the other side, since you cut it straight, you can kind of judge how high it is on this side as well. So pull your spline across. You don't want to stretch it really, but you do want to get it in right there. All right, now that you got it pulled across the top, you can go to the middle now and try to keep it all in line and punch a piece in the middle. Sometimes it helps to kind of push the spline into the vinyl on each side of it so it doesn't do anything weird. So punch that in. And now, depending on how long the length is, if it's a wide span like this, you probably want to keep punching until you get shorter spans that you're working with. But as you can see, that top piece is pretty straight across without me having to pull it up or anything, because this stuff can be a little stiff even though it does stretch. All right, so now I'm just going to keep working on these sections, and I'm just going to push that vinyl, that spline into the vinyl to kind of get the crease to go across without any ripples. And so once I get that crease right, I'm just going to hold my fingers in place and slowly start where it hadn't punched in yet and just roll backwards a little bit. So you don't want to go forward with it, because if you go forward, you'll push the spline and the vinyl in that direction and it'll cause ripples. So backwards, backwards, backwards. The reason I'm holding that in is because that keeps the vinyl and the spline in place so that it doesn't ripple or so that it doesn't stretch. All right, so we got that section. Now, I'm just going to keep doing the same thing across the whole top. And you don't want to roll in the outer edges. Like, you could probably leave about, like actually after you get this part done, pull a little bit of that out at the edge, because the edges are where it gets a little weird when you make each spline meet there. But see, I'm holding it in across there. There aren't any ripples. Just rolling backwards. This also, same concept works with the thicker screens, like the sun control screens. The same principles apply as what I'm doing here. So I'm pushing that in. I'm just going to go ahead and push it all the way, push all that in with my fingers. I'm just kind of holding it in place while I keep working my way across. Okay. There. You can kind of tap it once you get it in too, and that'll kind of let the vinyl kind of shift so it spreads evenly, stretching takes place. Okay, so now we got the whole top in. Next, just cut this off. All right, now I'm gonna do the bottom, and I'm not gonna do the whole bottom. I'm just gonna pull straight down so I can see where that middle is. Lay your piece across there. You can put your fingers on it and just kind of feel, you can kind of tell where the middle, like if you got it pulled straight down, just kind of wiggle it back and forth till you get it straight down. And then you just want to put a piece in at the bottom center. All right, you got a piece in at the bottom center. Now, I'm going to do a little piece on each side in the middle. So I'm going to come over here. Just kind of give it a little tension and punch in there. Come to the other side. Give it a little tension. And you want to make sure you kind of do it directly across from the other one. A little bit of tension, that way when you roll it in, it's not so loose. But you're not trying to pull this super tight like you would screen. So now I can just work on this top corner. And I can just kind of hold it up. And just pushing that vinyl in with my finger. I'm going to roll backwards again. Main thing is right now is you don't want to have ripples. That's why typically you'll end up pulling a little bit of this corner out. And it always helps to kind of get the vinyl where it's going to crease the way you want it. All right. Okay. Now you see that we're getting closer to the top. Might even have to pull a little bit more of that out. All right, so now that we're closer, I'm gonna pull that up so that get rid of any of those wrinkles that were there, the waves. See, we're kind of getting rid of those. I'm just lightly riding up onto it, but then I'm pushing as I'm going back. I'm only pushing that last little bit in though. All right, so now when you get close to the edge like that, you can just kind of slow roll it, where I'm kind of just kind of rolling it up lightly like I was just saying. Then on my way back, I'm pushing that last little bit in. Okay. Okay. All right, that corner's in and it's got no ripples in it. And that's the goal. So now that I've got that top I'm gonna work on the bottom a little bit now. I'm gonna work this corner over here since I kind of started on that side. So I pull down a little bit on the vinyl, kind of get that spline where I want it to be. Tuck it in with my fingers. I'm gonna back roll it in. And again, just kind of pulling down on the vinyl, pulling that spline across to where I pulled at. You always, when you pull down, you don't want to pull right next to where you put vinyl, the spline in. You want to go ahead a ways, then push the vinyl, the rubber in, the spline in with your thumb, and then go back to that whole piece you just kind of dealt with. You just kind of tuck it in with your fingers, and you see that the vinyl doesn't have any ripples when I do that. So now I'm just going to slow roll it backwards. Okay, I'm going to keep working across. Now I'm just pulling down, coming over. All right. Pushing it in. Sorry, it's kind of annoying doing bottoms. And it's a windy day, so it makes it all more fun. Alright, so now that I got that in, I'm going to finish going down this side. The main thing I'm doing right now is just making sure I don't get ripples in it. I'm going to pull that other side out in a second and then do that whole side again because it usually needs to be done. But right now it's just holding it in place, so I got some tightness. Things aren't whipping around. Okay, it's looking good so far. Cool. Not much tension at all, just want to kind of same thing over and over, holding that spine in place when it's kind of tucked in a little bit. Slow rolling backwards. It's looking good. You see, as we get closer to the corner, we're going to have to deal with making everything not wrinkly. That's why a lot of times you don't want to roll one side all the way to the corner before you deal with the next. You kind of want to bring them to the corner together. I'm not putting much tension on it at all. Okay. I'm going to start working on this bottom. I think I'm going to pull it out a little bit just because I think things come better together. Come together better. When you get to that last little inch, it's okay to go forward. Okay. Cut my spline a little too short, so I'm just going to put a little tiny piece here in the corner. Okay, alright, so now we're on the tail end of it. Okay. Just going to see if this rolls in fine. Well, actually, I'm going to pull that out. start fresh. A lot of times the vinyl loosens up when you're doing the other part, so I'm going to actually come close to the top. So everything's looking good right there. And I can tell I can keep it without rippling. I'm just going to get this little bit in right there. And that's going to come out a little bit. Alright, so now I'm not going to worry about that quite yet. I'm going to worry about getting this whole side piece in. One thing you can do, if you're wanting to put a little tension on it, is if you hold the vinyl and the spline in your hand and kind of pull directly over instead of over and down, you can kind of push it over and then slide your vinyl in once you get that little bit of tension. But then you want to tuck it in everywhere above that with your fingers. Make sure there's no ripples. And just slow roll it in. Yeah, it's looking good. See, I'm gonna have to pull some of that out because you see it's just kind of getting some ripples there at the end. So that's why I never roll it all the way into the corner until I kind of get a feel for how things are looking. All right, so same thing again, I'm pushing that spline against the vinyl, pushing it that way. And then I'm just sliding that spline right in there. I'm kind of pushing it in, tucking it in with my fingers, making sure there's no ripples when I do that. Then slow roll backwards. Alright, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to start working on the bottom. So I'm kind of close to the corner now. Doing most of the pushing in with my fingers right now. It's a little where it looks like there's no. Now the camera's at the ground, but you can hear me. When it looks like there's no ripples or anything like that, it's when I start slow rolling it in backwards. Alright, pushed it in with my thumbs. Slow rolling it backwards. Go ahead and cut my spline. Get ready to make them meet at the corner. So, just pulling a little bit down. Over. Pull that out a little bit. And when you get right at the corner, you just take your finger, put it at the corner, and just push it down toward the corner that way, and then that helps you get the spinal just right for that last push in. So usually that last little bit you can just roll in the normal way. And I always keep a flat head screwdriver just to be able to tuck in that last little bit if it's not wanting to go in with the roller. Okay, so I just got to finish this last little bit at the top. And I don't want to do that. That's dangerous. Alright, then all you gotta do after this point is just trim your vinyl off. Nice. Some old dirt's in the groove, so it's dulling my blade up. Alright, and that's how you do vinyl. Remember to like and subscribe.